I first started having depressions in high school. I think what was most bothersome to me was that I just didn't have the energy to do everything I wanted to. My depressions previously, the rest of my life, were always really sadness and kind of actively self-harming and things like that. And more recently, my depressions have changed to more of that like apathetic, numb feeling. One of the problems that I always struggle with that does kind of have to do with that is this feeling of not good enough. It is in part good enough for society, but good enough for my own standards, personal standards. I also have a really bad problem of comparing myself to other people. So sometimes meeting really accomplished females that are doing what I want to do triggers me to feel like I'm not good enough, and that can make me spiral. The life in music school was very hard for me. They would be as hard on you as they possibly could be to try to make you stronger. And so they'd just be so mean. And I was out of the hospital for a week and they're telling me I'm playing like an amateur. And it was just it was very traumatic. And it was just like clockwork. I would start cutting again. I would start throwing up. I would get manic, or I'd get really depressed. And I started to recognize this pattern. And I was in school for 3.5 years and I decided to transfer and change my major. There's too much pressure on young people to have to be this perfect view that society has of them. Now I recognize when I put too much on my plate, I can trigger situational depression, which then can lead into regular depression. And so I have to really be careful of doing too much. Everyone has different paths, but we want to put them into the same box. And that's really detrimental to people, to young people especially. I've always really cared a lot about social justice, and I think that music and art have a huge impact on people's lives, but I didn't feel like I was actively enough trying to work towards social justice by being a concert pianist. It felt more selfish that I was doing it for myself more than to help other people. So I decided I wanted to start being a mental health advocate. And I just remembered being in the hospital with people that had nothing and no insurance, and being in the emergency room with people that didn't get beds when I did. And it was just so unfair, and it broke my heart. And I just needed to do something.